From KPRC Channel 2, this is Houston Newsmakers with Cambrell Marshall.
And welcome to Newsmakers Extra with Alexis and Peter Olympia and Dr. Doug Harrison, the Assistant Professor of Pediatrics, MD Anderson, and the Director of Inpatient Services at Children's Cancer Hospital. We've been talking about DIPG and what a terrible thing it was to have your son be diagnosed with that. And now, though, you really are trying to be as proactive as you can to try to make sure that other parents don't go through this. What kinds of things are you doing now, and how did you come to this point to try to step out and do things on behalf of Connor?
Absolutely. Well, our first step was to create our foundation, the Connorman Foundation at connorman.org, and all of the proceeds from our foundation will go toward research. And it's so vitally important because more than 90% of the money that's going toward research to hopefully finding a cure for DIPG comes from families like ours who have been affected by this terrible disease.
How was it when you first found out about the diagnosis and the challenges of trying to find a cure, and then you started to do some research about how much money is actually going toward research in DIPG? I'm guessing you were shocked to see how little, comparatively speaking, goes to that.
Definitely disappointing, especially since it is, I mean, it affects children typically in between the age of 4 and 11. And so you would feel, or you would think that people would want to donate to such a terrible disease. And I guess because it's so rare that we're just not aware of it. And certainly we hadn't heard of it until Connor was diagnosed. And so I think that's the other part of the foundation and the folks that we've talked to is raising awareness and making sure that, you know, people do hear about DIPG and the lack of funding towards that, because I feel, at least what I've been told, is that if they can find improvements in treatment for DIPG or hopefully a cure, that's like the home run of finding a cure for cancer.
Dr. Harrison, MD Anderson is so involved against cancer in general. We had Dr. DePino on last week talking about the Moonshots program.
Right.
Of course, DIPG is not one of those moonshots.
Right.
How rare is DIPG, comparatively speaking?
So it's extremely rare. Pediatric cancer in general is extremely rare. DIPG is the most common tumor of the brainstem, which is the area in the back of the brain that controls our vital functions. Only about 200 to 400 kids a year are diagnosed with that in the United States. And so when you are deciding on research funds on a national level, it doesn't get the priority that maybe it needs. But when you see these children who are dying of this horrible illness in front of you, you realize that it's an emergency, that we need to increase awareness like these great people are doing, and bring more money to this disease.
And that challenge is, as long as those numbers are small, and that's kind of, it's really not a good thing. Okay, too few kids are dying, so we're not going to give you the money that you need. Right. I mean, it's a terrible way to go ahead and decide things, but I guess in terms of traditionally, is that the way it's always been in terms of determining where the money goes?
I think that's the way it's been for a long time, but hopefully with people making, I mean, these are horrible stories that we see all the time in the clinic, and if we can bring more awareness to people, to folks about how terrible this is. I mean, this is a beautiful, vibrant 4-year-old boy who was in the prime of his life. I mean, had so much personality and so much to give, and then just to be struck with this is tragic, and people need to know about it.
One of the things I saw, and we're looking at some of the pictures you sent in now, every picture I saw, there's so much love and so much joy. Even when you could tell that he was getting treatment at home, that there was so much love that you guys gave to this young man. And I think maybe some of that has to do with, when you said he was an old soul, it was almost like you were dealing with an adult in a 4-year-old's body.
That's true. That's true. He was the most beautiful example of love. He made us better people, better parents, better husband and wife, and he's, you know, lived every day of life to its absolute fullest. There's no doubt.
And you have an event coming up on March 12th, and what's that about?
Yes, so that we have partnered with the Michael Mosier Defeat DIPG Foundation. We have been so fortunate to have connected with other families that are a part of the DIPG DIPG community, and that has been very helpful to us. So we are partnering with them in this event on March 12th. It's going to be a fun afternoon, bowling competition, a silent auction as well, a lot of fun, free food, and just a great way to celebrate Connor, Michael, and all the children who have lost their life to DIPG and those that are still battling.
What has it been for you to, when you have those moments where you sit back and you think about Connor's impact on your life, what makes you smile when you think about him?
Yeah, sure. I mean, and it's true, we think about him every minute of every day. And, you know, just thinking about some of the silly things that he would do, or things that he would say when he would wake up from his nap. You could hear his feet run across the living room upstairs, and you know, when after watching Frozen a couple times, you know, he was running outside, and Alexa said, "Connor, don't forget your jacket," and he like slyly opened the door and he said, "You know, the cold doesn't bother me anyway." And just yeah, and just so many stories.
Well, I appreciate you sending the pictures in. I appreciate you sharing the story. We want to make sure people understand what's going on, and the challenge of trying to get the word out. Awareness will help lead to more research, perhaps. Huh, Doc?
I hope so. I hope so. Absolutely.
Alexis, Peter, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this Newsmakers Extra.